Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. This is a Conquest video. We are back with part 2 of our coverage of Conquest 16. This time looking at Datacron set 17, Rambunctious Rage. Which Datacrons I think are good, which ones I am targeting, and which ones I'm a lot softer on. With our new set, Rambunctious Rage, there are some stats I want to go over, and usually I just gloss over the stats. What we have in this set is potency, and potency is going to work very well with two of the factions that are part of this set, Night Sisters and Imperial Remnants. Both of them have mechanics that are very debuff dependent, so potency is going to make them function a whole lot better. So keep that in mind as you build up these sets. With the alignment, there's only a couple of these that I like in particular. With the dark side, I do like the special ability gives you buffs with the evasion up, health steal up, health up. Not amazing, but I like getting those buffs. Then I also like gaining turn meter whenever an ally or enemy is defeated. That's going to function very well with Night Sisters and the Remnant squads, particularly the Enoch squad or the Telzing squads. You can very easily build off of those. And that's specifically because of the condition of whenever an ally is defeated. That is definitely something that will be happening with those squads and characters. With light side, there's a few more that I like. There's whenever they use a basic, they gain speed up. That's never bad. And then there's the light side tank defeated, revive with health, cooldowns, reset, and bonus turn. That is pretty huge and is going to be very powerful on the right squads, like you can imagine Leia or other tank heavy squads that working out well. And then we have use a special ability, gain 15% turn meter. Jedi squads are going to do very well with that. And then this last one, first time each ally is defeated, remaining allies gain offense and speed stacking for the rest of the encounter. That's going to be very powerful. And on the right squad, think like a dash squad with Hondo, that is going to make what Hondo is already doing even better. So we can build off of the squads like that. Or think like a Mon Mothma squad or a squad that is very good at reviving allies can benefit from that as well. For our faction-based abilities, starting off with the Rogue One, this first ability here, this is clearly intended for Admiral Raddus, but it should also function half decently with a Saw-led Luthen squad. Start of the battle, Rogue One allies have additional max health and max protection of 100%. They're going to have 60% offense and 20 speed. If Jyn is an ally, she's going to be assisting whenever any of the other Rogue One ally use an ability. So she's going to be assisting all of the time. If all allies were Rogue One at the start of the battle, whenever an enemy attacks out of turn, they're going to get exposed, and that can't be evaded or resisted, and all Rogue One allies gain speed up and recover health and protection. So that's going to help boost up what Raddus can do clearly. Now, a couple of these I also like. Whenever Rogue One allies are revived, they recover 25% in protection, gain turn meter. If you didn't get the first ability here, or you're struggling to re-roll for it, that one's going to be perfectly adequate until you do have the re-roll mats to go for the proper one. And then a couple of these ones are okay. Whenever a Rogue One ally defeats an enemy, take a bonus turn. That might be good with Saw if you don't have this ability. And then whenever a Rogue One ally deals damage to an enemy and no other enemy is blinded, inflict blind. Not terrible. Night Sisters. This first one is 100% Morgan Elsbeth. Whenever an enemy is inflicted with defense down, I believe she does that on basic, reduce their max protection by 5, stacking to 50. Whenever a Night Sister ally gains foresight, so spirit, or stealth, which is acolyte, all Night Sister allies gain 5% turn meter and crit damage stacking to the end of the encounter. And whenever an enemy attacks out of turn, all Night Sister allies are going to be recover health and protection, gain retribution, and turn meter. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. That's going to make this Morgan Elsbeth Kron very powerful. And whenever Night Sister allies inflict a debuff on an enemy during their turn, they're going to deal bonus damage equal to 10% of that enemy's max health. That's very strong. That might be really nice to have with a Telzing lead. I'm not going to be adding relics to my Telzing for that, but if you've got one, go for it. Same deal. A couple of these other ones are pretty nice. I like Riposte as an ability. I don't mind the critical hit, gain offense stacking. Those are all solid, but those first two I think are the clear leaders. With the Jedi mechanics, first one's going to be nice. That's every one of these. At the start of the encounter and at the end of their turn, Jedi allies gain 1 stack of Retaliate for a max of 3, and Retaliate again when damaged by an attack, deal 20% of the damage received per stack to the attacker. We're very familiar with that from Conquest and going up against like a Padme squad. It can be somewhat of a pain. That one can go on most any Jedi squad. But a few of these other ones, Jedi allies start their turn with 2 debuffs. Don't care about that one too much. Whenever Jedi allies stun an enemy, they gain speed up, offense up. It's okay. This next one, whenever Jedi allies use a special during their turn, they stun a target, can't evade or resist. That I like a ton. I'm going to be getting several of those. And then grant a buff, gain turn meter. With like a Yoda squad, you can see, or even like a JMK squad, that can be quite powerful. Now this last one here with the Imperial Remnants, whenever an allied Imperial Remnant uses a special, gain alert. This is your Captain Enoch ability. That's going to go with Night Trooper. Night Trooper is the one who does alert. Whenever an enemy is inflicted with a stack of blight, all Remnant allies gain turn meter. This is going to make the Enoch Kron very powerful. Definitely be going after that Enoch Kron. Even if you're a free-to-play player, you might be able to get a month of use out of it, and it might be worth it. Whenever a Imperial Remnant ally is critically hit, they gain avoidance and chance. That I kind of like with a DTMG lead, but I actually like several of these. I like whenever a debuff on an enemy expires, gain offense stacking until the end of the battle, or whenever an Imperial Remnant ally falls below 100%, you get a bonus turn. Those are always good Kron abilities. Here's the overview of how I'm seeing this set of Datacrons. We got our must-haves. These are the ones that I think are going to be the most powerful. Eeth Koth could technically be in there, but he's just not a character I think is worth going after unless you already have him. The solid tier, where these are all very good crons that you're going to want to have. And the nice-to-have ones, these I think you could skip if you wanted. I think they're fine, but I don't think they're going to be difference makers. Or they got better leads. There's better options. And we will break these down in this order. We'll do our must-haves, solids, then the nice. Now, this might be enough for me to relic my Plo Koon finally. It's always been on the luxury list. I've always considered it, but I've never had a huge reason to. This is pretty good. It's going to take a solid, decent enough character who's a tank and make him a very good tank. Start of the battle, he's gaining 100% defense, max health, and max protection. Huge stat boost. Whenever Plo uses his basic, he's going to deal 25% bonus true damage based on his max health, so mod him for health. And then whenever Plo uses a special ability, stun all enemies for a turn. And whenever Plo gains defense up, which will be often, he also gains 5% max health stacking until the end of the encounter. So you're already taking that huge stat boost with health, and it's going to increase more. But because of this bonus true damage condition, that max health condition means he's going to become a bigger and bigger offensive threat as well. And that defense up, that's on his basic, which means we're going to be seeing a lot of it. So it is a meaningful condition. Now POW, this is an interesting one. This is already very powerful on its own. Start of the battle, all allies gain 100% max health and max protection, immune to healing immunity. Whenever POW assists, he deals bonus massive damage. Very interesting condition. Whenever POW uses a special ability, he shocks all enemies for 2 turns, and he uses his yell, whatever that's called, a lot, almost always. And whenever POW uses a basic ability on his turn, he stealths and gains defense penetration up for a turn and inflicts target enemy with offense down, and that's unevadable. And what that's really doing is, because POW is going to be so powerful with his whatever that ability is called, his first special, you're going to want to take him out early, and that stealth is going to make it so you can't go after him easily. But what's interesting about this is normally we put POW with a Mon Mothma squad. We could pair him on that Raddus squad though, because he is a Rogue One character, and that could make that Rogue One squad very dangerous. But because of the turn meter train that we get under Mon Mothma, we'll probably want to keep him there if you have all those characters at Relic. I don't. But because I don't, and I don't really want to take additional of those characters to Relics, particularly like the Hoth Rebel Scout, don't want to do it, I could consider bringing this over to Raddus and using this as my Raddus Kron instead of like Cassian or K2. Now I do have Cassian at Relics, but the issue there, and we'll get to it eventually, is that I don't think that Cassian Kron is all that notable. I think it's the one that we've had before, and you barely even notice it's there. But if you are doing Mon Mothma, even Mon Mothma Luthen POW, this, whenever POW assists dealing massive damage, that's going to be really interesting to see in action. With Luthen Rael, I think this depends on which lead you're doing. If you're doing Mon Mothma, I like that POW Kron more. If you're doing Saw, I'm going to go with Luthen. Whenever an ally takes a turn, enemies lose a stack of explosive trap, which that is that big explosive debuff that Saw puts down that takes like 15 turns. This is going to make explosive trap go off very early in the battle. Whenever explosive trap detonates, inflict all enemies with protection disruption for 2 turns. That's going to create this huge opportunity where you can just knock out the enemy very quickly after explosive trap goes off. Very powerful. Now under Mon Mothma lead, what this is doing, whenever a rebel trooper ally is summoned, all rebel fighter allies gain riposte, which I always like, but it's not a huge deal. That's why POW is way better if you are doing a Mon Mothma lead. And whenever an ally attacks out of turn, deal extra damage. That's going to be really nice on Mon Mothma, but it'll be fine under Saw lead, not a relevant condition. With Moff Gideon, we have whenever Gideon is inflicted with a debuff or gains a buff, he's going to gain a stack of insight and stealth for a turn. Whenever he gains 4 stacks of insight, he gains 100% turn meter. Insight is that mechanic within his kit that allows him to do that AoE daze ability. That just means as soon as he gets it, you don't have to wait to use that ability. You'll just be able to take that turn and throw down those debuffs, or if depending on cooldowns, maybe remove turn meter. Then we have whenever an Imperial Remnant ally is inflicted with a debuff, they're going to recover health and protection. That's fine, whatever. Whenever an enemy is inflicted with armor shred, you get an AoE blind. That's pretty huge. And whenever he uses subversive volley, he deals massive true damage to all enemies. And that's that AoE ability, and we're going to now want to use it when he gets those 4 stacks of insight, because massive damage, even though it doesn't mean as much under this current game with relics, it's still going to do a lot. And it's going to transform him from a character who doesn't do a lot of damage to one that does do a lot of damage. And for the level 6 ability, I'm going to want to pair this with whenever an Imperial Remnant ally staggers or stun an enemy, they deal bonus damage equal to 35% of the max health. Because we can pair that with Scout Troopers throwing down those staggers, he can stun too. And now we're doing a lot of big damage, big AoE damage to whoever we are taking this team up against. Next up, Captain Enoch. Start of the battle, if Enoch is in the leader slot, all other Imperial Remnant allies are immune to critical hits until he's defeated. That's pretty huge, and I'll get to why. And he gains 50% max health and max protection, and whenever Captain Enoch is critically hit, tank allies taunt for a turn. Now this doesn't sound like a particularly strong cron, but it's very subtle. And also we got to remember how it combines with the level 6 faction ability. Whenever an allied Remnant ally uses a special, they're going to gain alert, and whenever an enemy is inflicted with Blight, all Imperial Remnant allies are gaining turn meter. Blight's going to go around a lot. They're going to be gaining a lot of turn meter and 5% crit chance, crit damage stacking until the end of the counter. That combo is what's elevating Enoch to a must-have. Now the reason the level 9 ability is strong is we need to understand how his leadership works. What we have is whenever another non-droid Imperial Remnant ally would be reduced to 1% health from a non-critical hit, that's how they gain decay. Which means you can circumvent that mechanic with a team with high crit chance, which means like a CLS squad can just knock out this Enoch squad fairly effectively. And what the Kron is going to do is shut down a CLS type of counter. And then there's the taunt condition, because the other thing that is happening, if you just ignore all the side characters, you can also ignore the decay mechanic just by knocking out Enoch very early. Because from his unique ability, the Blight mechanic, that goes away if you take out Enoch. The decay mechanic's still there, but not the Blight mechanic, which makes the squad a whole lot less dangerous. So what the Kron does is take the vulnerabilities of an Enoch squad and turns them off. Because that taunt means you can bring Stormtrooper to the squad, and Stormtrooper, you try and take out Enoch first, now Stormtrooper's taunting. And now you got to manage all of that going on. And it's going to just take, like I said, this CLS counter, and now we need to find an alternative. We're going to have to use somebody that ignores taunt, for instance. Morgan Elsbeth is similar, where the level 9 ability on its own doesn't seem like a huge deal, but really it's about the pairing of the level 9 with the level 6. Whenever another ally uses an ability on their turn, Elsbeth is going to assist, dealing 50% more damage. And if you want to see how I think about this, watch the kit reveal video on Elsbeth. There's a lot of mechanics between her lead, unique, and basic ability that are very important, because there's a certain combo of debuffs that are inflicted which makes the squad function. And what she's going to do is inflict vulnerable, and vulnerable guarantees critical hits. And when you have those critical hits, that is going to be triggering the defense down mechanic, which is going to be triggering the stealth and foresight mechanic. So there's a synergy here that this Kron is facilitating. And that is all leading into how it ties into the level 6 ability, where whenever an enemy is inflicted with defense down, which is from Morgan Elsbeth's basic, now that she's assisting all the time from the level 9 ability, we're going to be reducing the max protection very regularly with the combo of the level 6 and the level 9 mechanics. These solid Datacrons, we're looking at Master Qui Gon, Dark Trooper, Asajj, Judge Death, and Eeth Koth. With Master Qui Gon, whenever he attacks out a turn, gains a stack of heal over time and protection over time. That ties into Cadme's mechanics. And he inflicts target enemy with protection disruption. That we're seeing with the Padmecron right now is very powerful. That could make this very good. What I don't like, though, is he doesn't really attack out a turn all that often. Like, Cadme can call him to an assist, but otherwise we're going to be looking at creating those assist opportunities with the other characters on the squad. We could throw in like a Shaak T or an Asajj Ventress, and that'll create more situations where Qui-Gon could be assisting. But it's not going to be all of the time, which is what brings it down to that solid level. Although I do like it, and I'm definitely going to get it. What I was hoping for is that we had Retribution. Like, Retaliate's going to be nice. You could definitely use it with the squad. It could be could function quite well with Qui-Gon, but I don't think I'm going to do it because the issue is the decoys there. So in those first 3 turns, if there was a way for Retaliate to be reapplied, definitely do it, but it might take a couple turns before the decoy is taken out, and then you don't have Retaliate anymore for Master Qui-Gon to utilize it, and the decoy isn't going to be benefiting from Retaliate because the decoy can't get buffs. Now, that to me means I'm probably going to go with whenever Jedi allies use a special, they stun the target enemy. That's going to be good enough. Now, the Dark Trooper Cron, this is a little difficult because I do like this quite a bit. Whenever Dark Trooper critically hits an enemy, Dark Trooper is gaining crit damage, defense penetration, and offense until the end of the battle. That's very strong. Now, there's plenty of reason to not use him with the Imperial Remnant Zerg squad, DTMG squad. The issue is the Moff Gideon Cron is better, so you don't want to use this. And then you're looking at, okay, if I move him to another squad, then I need to fill that slot, which means maybe you put in the TIE Fighter pilot. You don't want to do the Stormtrooper, because the Stormtrooper you're going to want with the Captain Enoch squad. So now we're moving the pieces around, and it's wondering where does Dark Trooper end up, because you need to have you need to have Imperial Remnant characters on the squads. You don't, particularly the Enoch squad, you need to have them, and then you don't want Dark Trooper on the Enoch squad, so you're kind of forced into putting him onto the Zerg squad, but he also doesn't function best there. So there's a balance of figuring out where to put him. You could place him with Veers though, and he's going to be very powerful with Veers. This is, I'm thinking, more of a Veers related Cron. Next is Asajj Cron. This is a great Cron. Whenever an enemy is stunned, Asajj takes the bonus turn. What you got to keep in mind here, and this is why I was talking about potency, there's a lot of stuns going around on a Telzing squad, where you have Telzing with the assist call, getting a lot of assists from the other characters having stun abilities. Asajj can land stun, Daka land stun, Marin land stun. That's a lot of stuns going around, which means Asajj is taking a lot of bonus turns, which means she can either use her basic and get bonus turns, or she's doing her AoE ability and landing debuffs. What we need to keep in mind here is the level 6 ability, because it's the second one here. Whenever Night Sister allies inflict a debuff on their turn, they deal bonus damage equal to 10% of max health. So that's potentially a lot of bonus max health damage going around whenever these debuffs are landing, and because of all those bonus turns that are happening, that's a lot of debuffs that are being inflicted. But for me, I don't want to take the rest of the squad up to Relics. If you have this Night Sister squad at Relics, then great. But for me, I'm not sacrificing the mechanics for a 4-month nice looking Cron. Judge Death. Whenever Peridea critically hits an enemy, Peridea gains damage immunity for a turn. Can't be copied. It gains 25% turn meter, blinds that enemy. There's a lot going on here, and if the enemy was target locked, Peridea gains protection up, stacking, retribution, and speed up. The problem is, it's not better than the Enoch Cron. I'm probably still going to grab it, but it is not a priority, and it's just going to be supplanted by a superior Cron. Now, Eeth Koth, this is one I'm not going after because I'm not taking this character up to Relics. But if you did it for the raid or for platoons, then congratulations, this is an amazing Cron. We could have put it in the higher tier. I just didn't want to reward Eeth Koth. At the start of the battle, Galactic Republic Jedi allies gain 100% offense, speed, immune to buff immunity. Huge. Eeth Koth gains 100% max health and protection. Great. If the leader is Galactic Republic Jedi, whenever they take damage, Eeth is going to taunt and gain foresight until he evades. That means Qui Gon lead, Kelleran lead, or JMK lead. Whenever Eeth evades an attack, and now he's taunting and has foresight because of the lead, whenever he evades, he's going to be gaining turn meter, and all Galactic Republic Jedi allies are going to be healing. And then whenever Eeth uses a special, he gains turn meter, blinds all enemies, that can't be evaded, and all Galactic Republic Jedi allies are going to recover more health protection and gain protection up. So this is going to make a squad quite tanky. Whenever Eeth uses a basic, he's going to inflict daze, and whenever a Galactic Republic Jedi ally gains foresight, all Galactic Republic Jedi allies gain turn meter and recover health and protection. What that probably means you're going to want to put Grandmaster Yoda on the squad, or you're just doing Qui-Gon lead, and then you're going to have a bunch of foresight. So there's some mechanics here that are just you're going to want to pair him most likely with the Qui-Gon, and you have now this boosted Qui-Gon, Kelleran, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Eeth Koth, possibly Grandmaster Yoda, or Anakin, or whoever you want to put in that last slot. Pair this with the level 6 ability. Retaliate does make sense here, but also that stun ability. They would both be good. I'm going to hate facing it. Those of you who have it, you're going to have a very nice Kron. With the nice tier, this will probably go a lot faster. We got Shaak Ti, Cass, Storm, Spirit, Zombie, and K2SO. One of the issues here with a number of these is there's just a better Kron option in a lot of cases, so you're not going to want to use it. With Shaak Ti here, whenever Shaak attacks out a turn, they recover health and protection. All other allies with Retribution assist. Problem here is that in order for this to be good, she needs to be the lead, because that's how she's giving a lot of Retribution to clones. Otherwise, I mean, maybe if you paired her with Yoda, but then it's which squad are you putting her on? There just becomes issues of where to actually get good use out of this Kron. I think this Kron will be very good for mid-game players, but for late-game players, I don't think it's going to be a major issue, and the squads that we're going to be, where it's going to be relevant, aren't going to be much of a threat. I just think there's going to be superior options. This Cass Kron is fine. I think we've seen it before. I'm not exactly certain, but Cass has max health and max protection per relic amplifier level, and he has the high relics because of what we've needed him for fleet, so that's going to be good. And the damage received is decreased by 15%. It's all perfectly fine, but what really matters here is the level 6 ability, and we need a question. Are we putting Pow on this squad, or are we doing Cassian? And if it's Cassian, it's good enough, but the level 6 ability is what's really going to be relevant here, not the level 9 ability. Stormtrooper's another one that's just alright. Whenever Stormtrooper loses taunt, remove turn meter from all enemies. It's just a question of where you're using them. Are you putting them on Iden squad? Maybe. We also have an Iden Kron, though, that's going to be around for a couple months. It's way better than this. And then is it going to be on the Elsbeth squad, the Captain Enoch squad? Because if you're doing the Captain Enoch squad, you're going to be using the Captain Enoch Kron. And if you're not doing the Captain Enoch Kron, then you got the Judge Death Kron, which is better than this one. So you're most likely not using this Kron. There's just better options. Same deal with Spirit. Whenever Spirit's gaining foresight, gaining turn meter protection up, solid, but you're going to be using the Morgan Elsbeth Kron. It's way better than this, so this is just not going to be relevant. Same thing with Zombie. I think it's okay, but the Asajj Kron, for the reasons I described, is just going to be way more dangerous than this. This is really just adding a bunch of debuffs. There's a couple more mechanics that just aren't that relevant. Plus, defense stacking paired with Talzin, that just means you're mitigating the effects. Mitigating is the wrong word. You're removing the effects that make the Talzin squad function. It's lessening what's going on there, and it's not what you're looking for. K2 is like Stormtrooper. It's just, there's better Krons. Whenever K2 loses taunt, remove turn meter from all enemies. It's just whatever. You're going to be better off with the Cassian Kron or the Pow Kron. I'm at a point where I'm not even going to re-record what was just said because we got out of focus. That was a big one. I'm glad we split this up into 2 parts. That could have been a little crazy otherwise. Now, over the next several days, we are going to have a sector video each day breaking down the feat progress, the squads that I'm using, and the data disk. So look out for that. And otherwise, thank you for watching. Be excellent to each other, everybody. This still plays Galaxy Heroes.